5 years ago, I started work at a small BMW garage in Glasgow. It wasn't a particularly interesting time in my life, apart from one thing. I made friends with a colleague called Vinny. When Vinny wasn't fixing BMWs, he was drifting them. Before meeting Vinny, I never had much time for drifting. I thought it was a bit of a waste of time and good rubber. But that opinion changed dramatically after he took me along to a drift day at a small racetrack in Fife called Driftland. In fact, one of my early attempts at making YouTube videos was a little compilation I made while at Driftland, which is where the footage we're watching right now comes from. Anyway, I was immediately hooked on drifting, so much so that I bought my own drift car, a little E46 compact. With plenty of help from Vinny and his brother, I converted it from a 1.8 auto to a 2.8 manual from a wrecked 328 coupe. Sadly, not long after finishing the project, I fell on some hard financial times and I couldn't afford to keep the project going, so I got sold off on Facebook Marketplace. That drifting itch never did quite get scratched for me, but I kept my love of drifting despite this. The only way I've found so far to scratch this itch is to go along and watch some drifting myself, and I thought this time, why don't I bring you guys along with me? I decided to take a little trip to a nearby drift day at Three Sisters Race Circuit on a particularly snowy day to show you guys what grassroots drifting is like here in the UK. Now, before we get into it, some of you might be wondering, what the hell is drifting, and why did it leave these metaphorical tire marks on me? Well, drifting is essentially the art of going sideways. Where normal racers practice relentlessly to smoothly and carefully navigate the twists and turns of a racetrack, drifters say, screw that, it would look cooler if you did it sideways and with billows of tire smoke coming out the back. To put it bluntly, drifting is all about style over speed. That's not to say there's no skill involved in it. Far from it, in fact. As Dango, a very experienced drifter, puts it.
Someone took me on a car park at 70 mile an hour drifting sideways. It feels highly illegal. And I think, but it's not. And I think that's the excitement. Also, we start where most motor drivers have crashed. So if you're a racing car and you start to get sideways, you're probably going to crash, or you're having a bad time anyway. And that's where we start. So I think it's exciting because you're on the edge of the control in theory. Well, not in theory, you just are, as you see all the time. So it's constantly exciting.
While I was at Three Sisters, I caught up with a few of the drivers to get an insight into why they love drifting and to ask them a bit about their cars. We've just heard from Dango just there, but I want to start off with another driver who caught my eye by driving probably the most iconic drift car there is on the planet, the legendary Toyota Corolla E86. Marcus Ty is the madman in question here. I asked him to give me a quick rundown on his Corolla.
Well, this is the most famous drift car, AE86, but this time we're running an SR20 engine. It's only running around 350 horsepower.
Only, yeah.
But the car is very light. We're guessing about 800, 850 kilo.
Wow.
So fully stripped out with cage and everything. Running a tiny 15-inch wheels and tire. And it's pretty good for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good drift car.
Definitely stands out on the track. You don't see many of these actually being drifted. You see a lot of showroom condition.
There's a lot of showroom queen, but obviously this is could do with a bit of tidy up, but drift car, I don't care.
A quick side note here. In the world of drifting, well, from what I've experienced anyway, it's seen as a mark of pride to have a bit of damage on your car, or battle scars as some people put it. Even pro drifters usually have a few zip ties holding their bumper on, or a few dents and scratches on their car. Drifters wear their damage with pride, and it's one of the things I absolutely adore about their community. Another thing about the drifting community, in the UK in particular, is that BMWs are king here. I'd say around half the cars at these drift days are BMWs, most of which are E46s. This is for a good reason. They're relatively cheap, easy to drift, and there's plenty of cheap aftermarket parts to upgrade and fix your car. I wanted to have a chat with a BMW driver about their car, and I managed to talk with Vicky Weaver Lynch, who drove this outrageous silver E46.
So this is an obviously E46 M54 B30 turbo. She is 614 horsepower running a Pulsar turbo.
Alright, let's pause there real quick, because that's a lot of letters and numbers. E46 is the car, obviously. M54 B30 is the engine, which is a 3-litre straight-six engine found in the BMW 330s, the Z4 and the X5 to name a few. It's also been turboed, which is an aftermarket modification, as these never came turboed from the factory. Oh, and it makes 614 horsepower, which is like a whole bunch. To put it in perspective, that's more than a brand new Audi R8. Anyway, back to the interview.
Yeah, so she's some good fun.
Just a moderate amount of horsepower there then. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
My god. I used to have a BMW E46 that I was trying to drift, and it was a stock 2.8, and I was like, oh, this thing's got loads of power. And
Yeah, that's how I started out. Yeah, 2.8.
Yeah.
It's good.
Madness.
So I wanted to know more about these guys than just what they drove. I wanted to know why they liked drifting. What brought them out on these horrible snowy wet days to do this sport? Let's hear what got these guys into drifting and why they keep coming back.
So why do you like drifting? What about drifting?
Oh, it's good fun. It's good fun. It's kind of funny story, really. What happened is I used to bring some Japanese cars in as a hobby and sell on it, etc. Back in the day, I had the R32 Skyline with the brand new RB25 engine in it.
Right.
It was cheap back in the day, £6,000. Bodywork was tatty, so I thought I'm looking for a body shop, but no one can fit me in for like 2-3 months after that. And I thought, let's do a drift day. At the time, I never drift before.
Yeah.
If I crash into things, I get it fixed anyway. And first drift day, as expected, I badly damaged the car, and but the smile on my face, I couldn't wipe it out. So from there on, I hooked on to it. Yeah, I went for a R32 Skyline, had a S13, and had this, and I even have a VXZ4 as well. Yeah, right. So yeah, I went for a field drift car.
Yeah. Okay, can you tell me about why you come back to drifting, why you love it so much? Obviously, best time and money in it.
Yeah, it is a lot of time and a lot of money. My husband got me into drifting. Started at Birmingham Wheels Raceway, just doing donuts and figures of 8, and it's just immense fun. And unfortunately, it's a little bit addictive. So I think if you're a competitive person, once you start to get the feel of it and you can see things developing, and you just want more, as in to get better, to get those lines, to get the clips, and just to make yourself better and get more competitive, really. So once you're hooked, you're hooked.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to have a different story on how they got into drifting, but it all ends up the same, with smiles on their faces and tyre smoke coming out behind them. Right, let's direct our attention away from the people for a minute and see a bit of the action on track. There was definitely plenty of it. As the rain came and went, and the snow began to thaw, it really created very unpredictable grip levels on the track, leading to plenty of spins and a couple of small crashes. I chatted with the owner of this R32 Skyline, who declined to do an interview, but he told me that this particular corner was an absolute nightmare, causing many spins. He even managed to catch him out twice in this clip. This guy in the red E46 was a particular favourite of mine to watch, as he was absolutely sending it every lap. Often when you send it on every corner, you're going to end up facing the wrong way at some point. 10 out of 10 for the recovery though. This particular incident really caught me by surprise. I was so busy checking out the BMW I didn't notice the 200SX losing it on the wet part of the track. I could see the challenge these conditions were posing the drivers on the track, but I wanted to hear directly from the source what it was like drifting in typical Great British weather.
One last question. What do you think about the weather today?
The weather is absolutely awful.
How's it like drifting out there with ice and snow?
It's not too bad, to be completely honest to you. It's a little bit tricky, but it's not as bad as it looks. You just have to be careful.
Yeah.
Everyone are going slow. Obviously, you can't go full on throttle all the time in this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not as bad as it seems. But it's okay. It's okay. And at least we probably get away with one set of tyres as well.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, usually in the dry, easily go through a couple of set of tyres.
Oh, right.
And they aren't cheap. I'm using semi-slick.
Right. Jeez. Okay. Yeah. What do you think of the ice and the snow here at the moment? What's it like driving on that?
It's making it interesting. So I've only had this engine in the car for a couple of months. I've done a couple of wet days, one dry day. So I am finding it a bit slippy today. I've only got bog standard tyres on, so I need to look at improving my grip levels, which I already have in the pipeline. So I'm sure once I've got that in motion, I'll hopefully start to find it a little bit easier. But it's definitely tricky out there today.
Yeah.
It is sketchy, you know, the bits that start to dry out, it's wet, you can't go as fast, you haven't got much faith in the car, you do get understeer problems, other people spin that then cause crashes, so dry is really what you want. It uses tyres, but that's drifting.
Yeah, I heard that corner down there is particularly challenging at the moment.
It's challenging in the way that people are going a bad line and then they fall off, because you get near the edge and then it's slippy on the edge and then you fall off.
Right, okay.
It's not something that...
So as long as you stay on line, it's all right. It's just...
but that's the driest bit. But there's a bit of standing water, people go off and pull a bit of mud on the edge. It doesn't get cleared because it's off the racing line or the drift line, so that's the problem really.
So I guess for the pros, it's not as bad as it looks. I know if it was me behind the wheel, I'd be on the grass or in a tyre wall by the end of the first lap. But I guess for these guys, it comes with the territory of drifting in the UK. While I was filming some of the cool drifting shots you guys have seen throughout this video, I saw a wide array of different cars out there, from an extremely rowdy BMW 1 Series to a wild Nissan 300ZX. Despite this, the car that really caught my attention was this. No, not the 350Z without a bumper. That. A little BMW E46 compact that looked exactly like my old car. The guy driving it clearly had zero fear and plenty of skill to back it up. I wish I could have caught up with them, but they managed to dodge me and my microphone all day. They were absolutely sending it. There were guys out there with at least double the budget, not putting on half the show that this thing was. When I first saw it, it made me sad that my little compact was gone, but after a little while, it made me happy, thinking of it spinning its tyres and burning rubber off with its new owner. Hopefully they send it just as much as this guy does. Anyway, that's it from me. I'd like to take a moment to thank Three Sisters Race Circuit and their staff for hosting these regular drift days and for happily allowing me to shoot this video. They have these drift days on a pretty regular basis, so if you want to come see one for yourself, get yourself over to their website and check out the next drift day. Hopefully the weather is better for you than it was for me. Obviously I also want to give a big thanks to the participants in my interviews. Dando and his wicked 1JZ swapped RX-8, Marcus and his iconic AE86, and Vicky and her beast of an E46. I've stuck their Instagrams up here, so go give them a follow to see more from them. And if you want to see more from me, of course you can subscribe to this channel, but I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, with some behind the scenes stuff, updates and pre-release content. Hopefully lots of new content coming out this summer, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Anyway, thanks for watching.
You're jealous now.
20. Is that an actual number? 22 cars?
Yeah. Dave's got, how many you got? 50 or something?
What, cars?
Yeah.
51 today.
Yeah.
I thought I was getting about out when I had 4. I was like, oh, I need to cut this down. It's getting too many.